the screen. Yeah, come on. It's a bit tedious with the mouse here, but I'm getting there. Come on. So, nearly done? Hang in there.
What's keeping the presentation? You deleted your slide.
So, okay, then, just a moment. So, what I'm planning to do with you, in general, is I would like to set up some lessons. It's a lunch and learn, and today is just a test balloon, like a sneak preview to see if you would like the topics, if this could be interesting for you, and if yes, we can gather at some point and get into more depth about what I try to bring across right now. The lessons will be called Order and Chaos. Why did I come up with the idea of presenting this stuff is, first of all, in my role as a quality assurance analyst and as a working council member, I feel often very concerned about the way we work, of course. If it's in a healthy way, if we produce in a good and thorough manner, and not only about how the product will be in the end. I mean, the best product is worth nothing if people got sick while producing it. And so it will be a lot about mental health. And especially people from my team knew and know that the last year was specifically hard for me. And I was thinking a lot how to bring this across and how much personal stuff I let play into the whole presentation. It won't be too much, but in order to stay authentic, I will share some of the insights and knowledge and experience I gathered in this last hard year where I was written off sick for at least 4 months, I guess. Getting better now, but yeah, want to share now with you what I experienced and why chaos and order. I'm a big fan of Gustav Jung. Just love that guy. Helped me a big time understanding myself and reflect on stuff which I would not otherwise would be able to comprehend and understand. And he said that in all chaos there is a cosmos, and in all disorder a secret order. But to see that, you need to know how. You need to gather the tools. You need to understand how you can see through the chaos into order and how make habitable and livable order out of chaos. Because I was thrown into quite a chaos last year. Seems like my conception of the world and the knowledge I had until this point was not enough and sufficient to protect me from the drama and envy and the anguish I needed to go through. But I managed to understand quite a bit, and this is something I would like to share then. And the possible topics I would like to bring across then, if there's any interest in this mental health, well-being exercises, could be just ideas, open for discussion. We can discuss other stuff, but I would bring up a series which will involve individuation, archetypes and shadows according to Carl Gustav Jung, the hero's journey according to Campbell, the basic forms of fear according to Fritz Reimann, the 7 deadly sins of civilized humanity by Konrad Lorenz, which was a really good book, short like this, 1972, won a Nobel Prize for that. To Have or to Be from Erich Fromm, which was for me the most influential book I read when I was young. It's like, it's all about how you be and not what you have. Team roles and traits of high-performing teams according to Belvin. It was very insightful to understand yourself and how to...
Just a question.
Yes, please.
Was it on purpose
Always.
that you ended with stress, depression, suicide, and then nothing?
I don't know. Could be. Very good question. Yeah, very good question. I just like to have the structure first of all from the real books and the real stuff I have physically in my hand, so to say, where you can read from, and deriving these insights into other stuff like cognitive bias, virtual signaling, stress, depression, suicide, which is strongly and heavily correlated and connected. But yeah, very good question. Thank you. Yeah, it's like a trichter. What's the German English word for trichter?
Funnel.
Funnel? Funnel? Yeah, like a funnel. A little bit like a funnel. Like you can so much insights from that derive into an overall idea on how to handle stress, depression, suicide thinking. Yes. Fast Thinking, Slow Thinking by Daniel Kahneman, which is on the top 10 must-read books from Harvard University. Addiction as a topic by the authors of Gabor Mato, he's a genius, Mark Lewis, Johan Hari, Bruce K. Alexander. Questions about this? No.
What are the seven deadly sins of civilized humanity?
The 7 deadly sins of civilized humanity is, like I said, it's a 1972 book, it's very thin, and Konrad Lorenz won the Nobel Prize, but I cannot recall in which category. And it's about overpopulation, the death of happiness throughout consumption. What else? Threat by atom bombs, 1972, still Cold War. So I cannot recall all 7 now, but it's a very, very good book, very worth reading. Just be aware, Konrad Lorenz was also a little bit, I think, of a genetic guy. He was a little bit racist, I guess, in some points. Yeah, sometimes you need to be careful with the authors, but still, doesn't mean just because he has one totally weird, fucked up idea, that doesn't mean that all the others must be also the same. Okay, other questions about this?
Can you say something about virtue signaling?
Virtue signaling. Yeah, sure. Virtue signaling is a quite modern term, which means, I mean, our political discussion nowadays is very, very extreme, right? You have the left, you have the right, and there's rarely something in between. And virtue signaling means that when you post something on social media, for example, that you show that you are either left or either right. So it doesn't matter, you don't even care if it's true or not. You just virtual signaling to your peer group that you're one of them and not one of the others. So like, if you are a right-winger, you will post stuff from Trump and even some bullshit about pedophile rings in Pizzagate. And although you don't even believe in it, but it's something you gather your group around. So it's like tribalism, in a sense. That it's not about individuality and your own idea about the world, but group thinking, filter bubble, stuff like that.
Can I ask you, do you have the 7 Deadly Sins of Civilized Humanity as a book?
I even have it as a 1970 original somewhere at home.
Yeah, because on Amazon it's 560 euros.
You gotta be kidding me. I have the original book at home, yeah.
So sell that. 560.
No, I would never sell that. That's not. I don't care about the 500
Just
euros.
to let you know.
The book is worth more to me.
You can like scan it and then sell it.
Yeah, no, I don't do bullshitting. Okay, if there's any other questions, I will now start the test balloon and tell you about the ocean. Bear with me, come down deep into the deepest ocean of your subconscious.
I got a beer.
I can even wait for you when I talk a little bit about the image.
In the left.
It's an...
Do we need to take mushrooms?
Pardon?
Do we need to take mushrooms?
You haven't already? Was part of the deal today, I forgot that.
Oh,
We all drinking
yeah,
here?
right.
Come on, man.
I will get some.
Yes, and it's an image from Caspar David Friedrich, if I recall the name correctly. It's called The Monk at the Sea. And I chose this image because it so nicely shows the depth of our subconscious. It's deep as the ocean and nearly as unexplored. So when you stand on the shores and you look up to the sea, you can get an idea on how deep your own subconscious is. And to get a more detailed idea, More or less, 5 to 10% is conscious brain activity, 90% to 95% is subconscious brain activity. So we are not the masters in our own house, as Freud or Jung said, cannot recall it correctly. This shows clearly how we are driven and what is actually the real decision making in our lives. I think we all heard it quite often, it's the subconscious that is in control and not the consciousness. More detail, according to Freud, it's the consciousness which is the immediate awareness. So we are now right here, you're listening to me, I know what I'm doing. The pre-consciousness, the accessible memories, the stuff that happened recently, today, when we were setting up, talking about the other slides. And the big, huge subconsciousness with the drives, instincts, repressed traumas, painful emotions. It all moves a certain direction according to Freud, which is a little bit too much on the sexual side with this libido stuff, so you can blend this a little bit out. But in general, we are moving. We are always moving. We are targeting animals. If you don't have an aim, you are not there. It's always something from A to B, even if it's from moment to moment, but you all have a goal all the time, even if you're not aware of it. So let's go down deeper into the ocean. Why I'm doing this? Because until you make the unconscious conscious, it will control your life and you will call it fate. So the more you make the unconscious conscious, the more you have a hold of it, the more you can control it, the more you understand it, the more you are in charge of your own direction. And this is something I try to bring across. Not only today, but this will be the more or less topic and theme of the whole order and chaos lessons. But even deeper down into the ocean, I love this quote. And why it's so important to understand this whole thing is the only journey is the journey within. If you grasp that and you really, really get a hold on yourself, you will have a better direction in life, will live more according to your values, principles, temperament, character, predispositions. Rainer Maria Rilke's genius. If you're interested, remember that name. It's an Austrian poet, was as deep as you can even get with poetry. Yes, the only journey is the journey within. So let's get even deeper into the ocean. Today I will talk to you about your personality. And your personality can be roughly described on a high resolution by these 5 traits. So it's all about openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. You all are somewhere along the lines. You cannot not be along one of these lines. It's how we are. You are a certain degree of openness, you are a certain degree of conscientiousness, certain degree of extroversion, certain degree of agreeableness and neuroticism. And understanding and knowing where you stand on these lines, on these spectra, will help you a big time reflecting on stuff, just understanding yourself and getting deeper and deeper into your own ocean and understanding what is down there and handle the things which could lurk there, which are often sometimes monsters. Why ocean? I like this word because ocean. That's how you can remember these 5 so nicely. It's openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, neuroticism. Ocean. Canoe works also. Like canoe on an ocean, so you can use these as an, what's it called? Not abbreviation? Acronym. Ocean, yeah. And what I will do right now, today as a test balloon, and to go into a little bit more depth about it, is I will talk about each trait, not too deep. I think I could, if I want to, talk easily 1 or 2 hours about each trait, but I don't want to bother you that long today. So let's start. You can leave at any point, right? Nobody is forced to stay. Openness. So we're talking about the extremes here, right? So if you're at 50%, you tend to be both. So you're a little bit more well-bound, well-rounded, balanced, a little bit more thoroughly centered. But that is not necessarily the thing. The thing is that we all have a certain predisposition. And it comes actually throughout two things. It's culture and nature. Like how you got raised, how your environment treated you, and the predisposition really by nature. You all know who have children. Children have a certain temperament, certain degree, certain character already when they come into this world. And as Carl Gustav Jung said, you are not being born as tabula rasa. You are not an empty table. So nature and culture predisposes you to certain areas of the spectrum. So let's go into openness now. If you know an openness means you're very consistent, cautious, you dislike change, you're more conservative, you do not enjoy new things, you resist new ideas, you're not very imaginative, you dislike abstract or theoretical concepts, and you may get perceived as pragmatic, data-driven, unpredictable, dogmatic, or close-minded. If you're high on openness, as I am, I think I scored 91, 93 on my first test on high on openness. So you're inventive, curious, you're open to trying new things, liberal. So this is really, you really can think about the political terms, the conservatism and liberalism. It helps also to understand a lot nowadays the political discussions a lot, because it's not about the insight and knowledge you have, but a lot about where you're situated on the openness trait. If you're more the liberal type, left-leaning, like most of us, I guess, or if you're more on the conservative side, when you're not so eager about new stuff. But when you're high on openness, you're very creative. You're prone to addictions, because you try a lot of shit. You're focused on tackling new challenges. You're happy to think about abstract concepts, and in an extreme view, you may get perceived as too talkative, yeah, guilty, unpredictable, and lacking focus. Yes, very much. Good example when it comes down to this is when it comes down to the refugee crisis or something. People who are high on openness, they will say, yeah, come on, let them all in, it's friendly, great. People who are low on openness, the conservative stuff, people, they will be more, I don't know, we shouldn't open the borders. And this has nothing to do with moral. Good example with my cousin. My cousin is a great guy, but he's very conservative. And he was like, when the refugee crisis started, like, well, I don't know about all the Syrians and if they should come in, and I'm totally left-leaning, open. How could you say this? Right? And still, he's teaching a Syrian guy in his workshop. So it's not about moral, it's about how you perceive the world, where you are situated in the way you look into the world.
But these are different topics, I mean, yeah, I mean...
Yeah, I don't want to get too political and historical, but you know, we can talk afterwards, or if you want to open it right now, we can, but okay, but I get you. So you need to be careful also with these phrasing, sure. But it's not too single-minded, but I try to limit the complexity a little bit, that it gets more clearer. Maybe take the wall. I mean, we all think it's super stupid, the wall, and of course it's stupid. But people who are very, very low on openness, like they don't even want to think about any abstract concepts.
But the white walkers would walk right into...
Yeah, see? You know, yeah, exactly. So you can scare people easily with a low on openness, which again does not necessarily has anything to do with intelligent, moral or something. It's just the way you perceive the world and how you like to behave in the world. Okay. But don't get stuck too much at the openness trait. Let's go on to conscientiousness. It's about not how much self-esteem you have, because in German you can say Selbstbewusstsein, aber das heißt nicht Selbstbewusstsein, sondern das heißt, wie sehr bist du dir deiner selbst bewusst? So how much are you aware of being in the world in a sense? Not how much self-esteem do you have in the world. Big difference. If you're low on conscientiousness, means you are easygoing, careless, dislikes structure, schedules, makes messes, doesn't take care of things, fails to return things or put them back where they belong, procrastinates important tasks, fails to complete necessary or assigned tasks, or may get, as an extreme, be perceived as sloppy and unreliable. Yeah, I think I scored 30, so I'm not very conscientious. High conscientiousness is you're efficient and organized, spends time preparing, finishes important tasks right away, pays attention to detail, enjoys having a set schedule, extremely aware of surroundings, self-disciplined and dutiful, perceived as stubborn and focused. In general, you can also say, and this is proven by the data, men are more low on conscientious, women are generally higher on conscientiousness. One of the reasons why they're also more successful in their academic life. They're in an average better prepared, but we're talking not too much, 60%. So all the extreme conscientious people are women, all the extreme low conscientious people are men. Good example.
I would argue about that actually.
Pardon?
I would argue about that actually. The data actually shows that in extremes there are almost always men, and women are basically set like a higher diverse group in that sense. So there are basically in the middle there are more women, and on the extremes there are more men. But yeah, anyway, that's
Thanks a lot for the insight. The point is just, we're talking about the 1%. When I'm saying the extremes, it's just the 1%.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the reasons for that is that women can have children. That is what the data and the statistics and the interpretation of this says, because if you can have children, you're more aware of surroundings, because you are more the person who takes care of the children, and one of the reasons.
I would argue that men can also have children. They cannot give birth.
Argue, sure. We're talking about the total extremes, but you're right. In the middle, and both can be both at some points, but just when you look at the 0.1% or something, or 1%, but okay, maybe it's not the best example I chose. The better example is maybe, and this is quite embarrassing even to say, the toilet seat example. I had a huge fight with my girlfriend about the toilet seat. Not like sitting or standing, it's just like she hated when the toilet seat was not down. Part of conscientiousness. You can break down conscientiousness into orderliness and industriousness. And orderliness is how important is order for you. That's the way how you look at the world. For men, we are maybe not so much into the order, especially me. When I just had 30 on a conscientiousness spectrum, I didn't mind. And she was so eager about having a toilet seat down. And can you imagine, that's such a stupid fight, but this is how you look at the world and how stuff is important for you. That's maybe also sometimes the reason, so I'm a little bit careful with my examples, and I'm open for discussion, of course, for these things, is that why women tend to do the household more earlier, because they feel more disgusted earlier. One of the another side effects of orderliness is disgust sensitivity. People who have a high on orderliness, high on conscientiousness, they get disgusted way earlier. So if you're low on conscientiousness, like, you're not that disgusted, yeah, the dishes stand around, who fucking cares, right? These are the different ways how you can perceive and look into the world.
I think that doesn't measure that factor at all. I don't know.
No, please say.
Yeah, just I think you cannot measure that if you are conscious about your consciousness or not with your actions. I mean, you cannot measure it this way.
Please explain, I don't get it.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, like the example doesn't reflect that. Like
Why?
if the women are discussing before the women for the order, it doesn't mean that they are conscious more, you know?
It's part of the orderliness, which conscientiousness breaks down into industriousness and orderliness.
Yeah.
So women like to have this. Let's leave the gender outside. I see that could be a little bit problematic. So let's just talk we as humans. There are people who are more conscientious and less conscientious. But we can talk about the gender details afterwards in a more private matter, because this tends to get emotional. So I try to leave these examples outside. But we can talk later, sure.
I take 2 minutes of pause.
Yes, okay. Questions? Otherwise we go on and won't take too long.
You keep mentioning that you scored some number in some test. What kind of tests are those?
It's a test which lasts like 15-20 minutes, and then you will get asked different questions, and you need to answer them on a scale from 1 to 5. And if you're interested in this, Google Big 5, there are tons of these tests out there, and these are valid psychometrics. We're not talking here about some bullshit tests from a magazine like how likely are you going to trip.
So, like how do you get to do those tests? Is it because you want to take a certain form of therapy, or I mean, how do you
It's,
find those
it's
tests?
part of psychoanalytics and psychometrics at universities to understand people in a more profound detail and to have a certain, like with these 5 you have a certain resolution of how you can understand people more, like where are they situated on
So
these
the
kind
name
of
of
spectrum.
those tests is what?
Big 5 and of 5-factor model.
Big 5
Yes.
test. Okay.
Do it. It's very insightful when you do it, and doesn't take too long. And for me, it was very insightful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, it's maybe best to do it before we hear this, right? Because now we know. Based on the
Yeah,
questions,
yeah,
we would
good.
know what to expect.
Good idea. But I would ask you if you are interested in doing these tests, then answer right away. Don't think too much about it. Like the answer, the idea that's coming into your mind in an instant is mostly the one where you're really situated to, because it's about the subconscious and how you are situated in this spectrum. Yes. Good. Extroversion. There, I scored 97 on my first test, so only 3% of all the people who took the test are more extroverted than I am. If you're low on extroversion, you are more solitary, reserved, you prefer solitude, you feel exhausted when having to socialize a lot, finds it difficult to start conversations, dislikes making small talk, carefully thinks through before speaking, dislikes being the center of attention, and perceived in an extreme as aloof or self-absorbed because too much introvertism. If you're high on extroversion, you're outgoing, energetic, enjoys being the center of attention, likes to start conversations, enjoys meeting new people, has a wide social circle of friends and acquaintances, finds it easy to make new friends, feels energized.
I heard that you have a wide social circle of friends.
Me?
You said it like... So
Again?
I heard you saying wide social circle of friends. You only said a wide.
Okay, yeah, good. So the people are not that... No, I get you. No, I also have black friends. Say things before thinking about them. Say things before thinking about them. Yeah, it happens sometimes too easily and perceived as too dominant and attention-seeking. Like I said, I scored 97 on my first try. I got better at this by holding myself more back in certain situations. But I can say, as an example, when I was a team lead at Game Duel, the one consistent negative feedback I got from all my colleagues and people I was taking care of were like, stop finishing our sentences. Because I was so engaged into, so it took me a long time to not finish other people's sentences. Questions about extroversion? I think it's quite straightforward. This is the trait people can relate to the most. It's extroversion between introversion. That is easy hand-on and hold on.
I just want to say that secretly introverts are hating extroverts.
Yeah. But why?
No, yeah.
Just annoying.
Yeah.
Because it takes energy.
Yeah.
As an introvert.
You have to pay attention to that person who needs attention. And
Yes. So you feel like, oh, what? It's very, very good example, because people start to cringe. As an introvert, and when you're forced to being exposed to an extrovert, it's like, it's taking my energy, don't stop talking. So yeah, very good. Okay, next one. Agreeableness. So how agreeable are you? And if you're low, you are challenging and detached, takes little interest in others, doesn't care about how other people feel, has little interest in other people's problems, insults and belittles others, manipulates and others to get what they want, and may get in an extreme be perceived as competitive, challenging, untrustworthy, and argumentative. If you're high on agreeableness, if you are friendly and compassionate, has a great deal of interest in other people, cares about others, feels empathy and concern for other people, enjoys helping and contributing to the happiness of other people, and assists others who are in need of help, but they maybe get perceived as naive and submissive, and if you're way too agreeable, people will take advantage of you, because you let them at some point. And if you are somebody's low on agreeableness is exposed to somebody's high on agreeableness, that people doesn't even know that he's taking advantage of you, because for them it's not a thing, that's how they are. And the other one, like, okay, everything is okay, yeah, that's good. Good example in the industry, for example, sales versus health industry. If you're low on agreeableness, you're a good salesman in a sense, because you can make deals, right? Because you don't get easily taken advantage of, you can fight for what you want. And in the health business, of course, as I think I scored, what was I, 75 I scored on agreeableness. So I loved being in the social service. When I was helping the elderly and driving around in Lübeck, handing out meds that the people can stay at home. Part of me could have done it for my real job, but I always wanted to study, and the health system in Germany is quite underfunded and has mean working conditions. Questions? Then we go on. Neurotism. Ooh. Yeah, that's the most interesting trait for me. When I asked one of my best friends what she thought I scored on neurotism, she said, like, are there minus values? Because I'm fucking neurotic, I can be really neurotic. The first time I scored, probably I think it was 15 or 20, it was really bad. But what does it mean? It's like, how prone are you to emotional pain? I experience emotional pain on a quite more profound basis than somebody that's high on neurotism, who's like, why do you even care? Why are you crying? Because it's sad. If you're low on neurotism, you are insecure, confident. Wait.
I think
it's the other way around.
I messed it up. Yeah. So flip. We need to correct that. Yeah. So if you're low on neurotism, you're sensitive and nervous, you're experience a lot of stress, you worry about many different things, you get upset easily. Oh, that was worse. Experiences dramatic shifts in mood, feels anxious, struggles to bounce back after stressful events. Yeah, that I can really relate to. Perceived as moody and unstable, which was the second most mentioned word in my feedback at Game.L. Yeah, he's moody. Yes?
I think this was the high.
Moody and
Well, I
unstable?
don't understand the neurotism, but I think that the high one is...
No? Ah, yeah. Sorry, I have trouble right now. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you're right. And the other actually side of the spectrum of neurotism is called emotional stability. You're right. Yeah. So emotional stability is if you are low on neurotism. You're emotionally stable. You deal well with stress. You rarely feel sad or depressed. You don't worry too much, and you're very relaxed, and you may get perceived as moody and unstable, whereas if you're low, you are more very stoic, uninspiring, and unconcerned.
Is there people like that? Is there people who are like very high on the very emotionally stable?
Yeah. I've, for example, I can recall Aryan from our team, when I was talking with him, and I had lots of discussions about this personal stuff. Aryan said that his family called him dead cold, because he's moving. So stuff happening, words breaks down, he's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are people like that, and I envy them.
When he was really angry, he was still smiling. Like.
Yeah, very much. There are people like that, and it's very important that people are like that. The backbone of decision making, of team building and stuff like that. If shit hits the fan, and you need somebody who's calm and can clean up the mess.
Don't you think it's a cover?
Fun?
Don't you think it's a cover?
A cover? No. This is really how they are deep down. It's like there's no storm in the ocean. It's a calm.
It's called pain inside.
Sorry, is it voluntary?
For example, he's also very high on emotional stability. Sure.
I didn't say that, but I just did that.
But as far as I know you will score at least 70, 80 there.
Pain is that inside, but I know.
See how calm he is? Good. So, we are through with the ocean. Question about this? Yes.
But sometimes those people that are like really suppressing all the stress and everything, and like handling everything very nicely, they have insomnia, health problems and all that stuff because they're just really suppressing it and not letting it out. They're just really holding it back and just saying, yeah, it's fine, but actually it comes back in your nightmares.
No, yes, what? If it's really hard
I don't know.
for them, no, they don't.
No.
They don't.
No.
It's fine.
No.
It's really hard.
Maybe you perceive that, or maybe people who are very neurotic have this facade and will then cry at home, although they look stoic and to the outside. But people who are really low have a high emotional stability. They have a high emotional stability. That's how I perceive and understood the whole concept. Yeah. Other questions? No? Then we're through with the 5.
So just one thing, I found this online.
Yeah.
And so there the N stands for negative emotionality. And there it would make sense that someone with who is I still don't get it. If you're high neuroticism,
Yeah, it's
then you have high negative emotionality. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah.
You can really imagine it like this. If I experience something very traumatic, then that hits me like a punch. And but somebody, because I'm very high on neuroticism, because I'm low on emotional stability, but somebody who's high on emotional stability and low on neuroticism, who would experience the exact same thing, wouldn't mind that much. So if he experiences as a 1, I would experience as multiplicator by 5. That is something where you can get a hold on of the concept, like it works. Like other people wouldn't mind what I went through, where it was for me just devastating and traumatizing to a certain degree. Just due to the fact that that's the way I am. And now we're coming to the examples actually. The good thing about being neurotic, which seems weird, that there could be a good thing, right? You are very attentive. Because then the reason why I became, I think, and I hope, such a good quality assurance analyst and tester I can see things other people don't see. When I test software, I see stuff, I hope my team can agree at some point, that I'm very keen eye to detail. That I'm very distinct about small stuff because I'm always a little bit tense. I'm always a little bit neurotic about stuff, and my perspective and the way I perceive the things is a little bit sometimes overwhelming because my filters and my funnels are not so well adjusted with somebody who's emotionally stable who's like, what? How did you see that? People who have been very high on neuroticism supposedly were Woody Allen, that's the City Neurotic, this movie or something, Lincoln, for example, Beethoven, Darwin, Newton, Churchill, which was quite known. He wrote even pictures and images of his depression. He called his depression the small black dog. So you can look up the images Churchill draw. Tolstoy, for example, was so neurotic and so emotional unstable that he avoided for years, although he was super famous, was already at the height of his art and people knew him and he was successful. He avoided going out with a gun or taking a rope because he thought he would kill him. He would kill himself. That he really knew that I'm so neurotic and it could happen any time, so I'm not going out with a rope or with a gun. If I leave my family and I have the possibility, maybe I will fucking do it. Michelangelo, Tesla, Van Gogh. I mean, you don't cut an ear off if you're healthy, right?
But you can have examples of this, of successful or not successful special people in any kind of characteristic that you have. I mean, they are mentioning those people who are did something and they are highly neurotic.
Already. So I see you're high on disagreeableness.
Because you don't know this thing, right?
Yeah.
So he has to mention things.
Yeah.
I mean, it means nothing. Just
No, it means a lot, definitely. And then, for example, I already see that you're highly disagreeable in many things, which is great and good. Which is good because that is how you are, and that's how you should behave, hold yourself according to your character and your temperament. But think about what these people did. Think about their art. It's not that they did some, like you say, some people who did some stuff.
No, I don't think he's implying that you need, to be like some accomplishment, you don't need to be a genius, you need to be neurotic. I think it's a trait maybe of those persons. And
Yeah, which helped them. Yeah, they don't...
probably yeah, but somehow, probably not. I don't know, you cannot measure this anyway.
Exactly.
In a quantitative way. Like, there's a trait.
You can't measure this.
if you want proof,
It's just...
It's just a trait of those persons, and I mean, that they take as it is. I don't think there's like...
but can you relate? I mean, to the... I mean, just imagine the art
like,
thing.
there's not like a
Yeah.
strong...
Yeah.
It's not like,
Doesn't mean that if you are emotionally stable, you cannot come up with great works of literature, art, or poetry. It doesn't mean that. But these are the people, and when you look at the art they did, they have a certain distinct turn and trajectory in what they did, which is mostly founded in the way they, in how emotionally stable they were. Van Gogh, you don't cut an ear off if you're healthy, right? Or
After one bottle of absinthe.
and addictions, remember? You're often also to cure neuroticism, and also when you're high on openness, you are likely more to get addicted. And then again happens another domino causality of effects. And one example, which put it actually, especially at the last one, Edvard Munch, supposedly, I don't know, supposedly, but why I put it at the end was, especially last year when I was sitting at the Christmas table and I was really fucked up with the disease which conquered me that day and the time. The wife of my cousin said, "You were sitting there and you looked like the screen."
Like?
The screen, you know this picture?
Ah, the screen. Ah, that's all. I understood the green.
And then I could relate to that, because I was really bad and was fucked up. Edvard Munch, supposedly, just see, this is an offer for learning and invitation. So I like that we discuss and that you're all invested in these kinds of topics. It's really cool. Something else to mention to others, and we think I'm through. Why? Actually, why? The big why. The biggest epiphany I got from learning these whole traits and getting into the depth of this concepts were that it helped me to understand that the way I perceive the world is how I perceive the world according to my traits. So it's always a matter of perspective how you perceive the world. So if you're standing on this side, this will be true for you. But if you're standing on this side, this will also be true for you. But the truth is always in the middle somewhere. So it helped me a lot being way more easy with myself, not being so fundamental with my idealism and thinking I understood the world, and if I would have ruled communism then everything would be great and we would have ended up in utopia. So this was really the biggest epiphany. That helped me a lot to... I mean, it was also one of the parts which made my worldview, referential system and concept of hierarchy in this world collapse, because all of a sudden I was like, fuck, you have been a self-absorbed, narcissistic piece of shit sometimes because you thought you knew everything. In a sense, exaggerating. But understanding where I'm situated on the traits and how other people are situated and how they look into this world. It's actually the color how you look into this world. It's the way, it's the glasses on how you perceive the world. This is the most important thing. If there's one thing you can learn today and take away with you, is this: your traits define the way you look at the world. And doesn't mean that the world is like that. It makes you easier with other opinions. It smoothens the discussions. You are more prone to listening to other people and other opinions, even if it's challenging your core beliefs and you think like, how can he say that? But yeah, he can say that because that's how he looks at the world. And this will challenge your worldview. Good. No any other questions or comments? I think I'm going to the last slide. And I like to start with quotes, I like to end with quotes. And this is now my favorite quote of all time.
Should drop a line.
Thank you. Yeah, cool.
Bravo!
Thank you, Nadia. Thanks a lot. Thanks. Oh, that was good, yeah.
I guess someone from London, I think.
Oh, it's nice enough.
Definitely.